Welcome, folks. We are just going to give this a second so I can make sure that we are seeing this live. Cool. Welcome, folks. Yeah, and then I'm going to screw up my own audio. Bear with me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Thanks for joining my little test stream here. I think we've got that all fixed. Looks like we do. Welcome. My name is Chris. You've probably seen me around on a couple of streams here or there, but I have finally gotten the YouTube approval to go live here. So I wanted to put this thing together for a little Sunday morning test. So thanks to those of you who are joining me or maybe watching this later. Super appreciative of that. I know right now I don't really have like a whole long session. This is going to be a pretty short, I'll call it a short runway for today. I don't want to bore the heck out of everybody talking to myself for an hour or so. So we'll hopefully keep this less than 20 minutes. But I think right now, the only thing that I've really got to chat about today is probably the importance of video in our lives right now. I think that, and just this is going to be a largely Apple focused discussion. Yeah, I've got some Samsung stuff to throw in here a little bit as well. But yeah, so for those who don't know me, actually, I know you might have seen me in a couple of streams. I am largely an Apple fan, and privacy aside, I am kind of platform agnostic. So for those of you who haven't seen my other videos or haven't seen me on streams or haven't followed me on Twitter or whatever, I am largely an Apple guy. This is being done on a Mac. I favor the iPhone, all that stuff. But I still respect engineering. I respect consumer experiences. And that is the thing that I am a fan of. I realize I'm not recording a trailer here, but that is, I'm ultimately whatever is best for you is the thing that I want to get you connected with. And I want to really introduce consumers and the masses to better technology or the technology that will best suit their needs. So, I don't like to be referred to as an Apple sheep, even though I do think that they have a better hand. I mean, obviously they make their own software and hardware, so that's its own thing. Google, a little bit of a different way of life, building on different platforms. But yeah, my two favorite phones at the moment right now are the iPhone 11 Pro and the Google Pixel 4, not the XL, because who needs battery life? And I know some will be surprised to hear it's not the Samsung Galaxy S20, but if you've heard any of the lives, we're not going to get into that one. Not today. So that's me. And I think going back to the video, the importance of connection, the importance of all things related to technology. It's been interesting. If you look back at like going back, I mean, we're in 20. So it's about 10 years ago that Apple came out with FaceTime. And I remember that they had FaceTime. It started on the iPhone. And sorry, I'm getting some weird. I am clicking excessively here. Bear with me a sec. Hopefully that's a little bit better. So I remember when I first saw FaceTime and I first saw, Apple's coming out with this thing on their phone and you can use this camera and you can chat with people in video mode. And who really cares about this? I mean, this is just, to me, it was just like a big flex. And it wasn't that exciting to me. I didn't care about it, and it didn't really motivate me to go to the iOS platform. But it's interesting now looking at it 10 years later. I mean, the evolution of that platform, I think it took like a year, around 2011 or so, for them to bring it onto Macs and for Macs to get it. And then, obviously it flowed onto iPads and everything like that in between. And then they came up with audio only FaceTime couple of years after that, around 2013 or so. And now, within the past 18 months or so, we've gotten group FaceTime. And in times like right now that we're dealing with, and I'm not going to go make this whole discussion about the I'll call it the pandemic, although I really didn't want to talk about that stuff today, because hopefully you guys are all here trying to escape a little bit of that CNN fodder. But the importance of that is significant. I mean, if you look at communication and you look at how we communicate as humans, you can talk to people on the phone, you can call them, you can have meetings and speaker phones and addresses and all this crap, but nothing means as much as when you can see and you can hear the intonation and see the person's emotion, their body language with how they're reacting with you. So I think over the years, I didn't care that much about FaceTime. I only really used it when I was traveling, but it has been the biggest connector, over this brief period of time that we've been dealing with the situation that we've got. So I guess I just got to say shout out to Apple for that. I mean, I know Google has Duo and they used to have Hangouts and everything like that. I mean, video conferencing as a whole is something that's amazing. I mean, there's WebEx, there's Zoom, there's Microsoft Teams, there's all this crap that's out there now. But for most people and most people that I know and those in my family circle, it's FaceTime. FaceTime's the go-to, and I don't know. It's a weird thing. I never cared about it, and it's been pretty good. And I guess video is also a significant thing because I feel the need to sit here and tell you about it on video. So I guess the other little bit of news that I'll share today, that I've been digging into a little bit of the Apple stores. So obviously there's a lot of things that are closed. Life isn't quite as usual right now, but the Apple stores have been shut down since March 27th. Everything outside of mainland China, the stores have been closed. And there's been there is no shortage of horror stories about that. For people that have had things in on repair, they can't get them back. People that had in-store orders that got canceled. Apple did leave some of their stores open a little bit later. So they closed them a few days after that, just so that critical repairs and a couple of pickups and things like that could be sorted. But by and large, they shut them down. And if your stuff is in there right now for repair, you're not getting it back. Like I'm sorry, you're getting it back. You're getting it back eventually. I mean, but there's no fixed date. It's when the store is open. And I've read a bunch of little articles about people that have, contacted Apple and said, look, you've got my brand new MacBook in there that I brought in there because I had an Apple Care claim on it. I broke the display. Can you just send me another one? Can you send me a refurb? Can you do this? And Apple is no. So it's an interesting time because Apple has the greatest customer experience they've got so many stores in every part of the world. And any single one of them you walk into, and most times, if it's a modern device, you can get whatever you're dealing with solved on the spot in a matter of hours, or a couple of days sometimes. Sometimes it has to go out to Depot or something like that. But it's still they always, under promise and over deliver from that customer service aspect. And this is one of those times that things are serious because Apple isn't doing that. I mean, your stuff is literally boxed up right now, sitting in there wherever it is and waiting. So I'm hoping to see some stories of people whose gear maybe went out to the depot, or maybe they went in and shipped it out and they're getting things shipped back to their house. I haven't seen any of those stories yet. But what's interesting here is Apple says until their stores reopen, this is how it's going to be. So the question is it going to be a unified reopening? Or is it going to be, obviously there's different globalized regions, but are they going to flip on all the US at once? Or are they going to start the West, go to East? How is that going to be? And I don't know. It's an interesting moment to see how that will unfold and how that will impact the consumer, because Apple has always, like I said, they're all about experiences. They're a high touch brand. They always want to provide the premier experience for consumers. So I don't feel like they have to, but I guess the question is, are they going to compensate folks for this stuff? Are they going to, how are they going to make it up to us? Are they going to make it up to us? From the consumer side, I understand. It's like, you've had my stuff for a month, or gosh, who knows how long it's going to be, but it's not Apple's fault that they're doing this. They're actually doing it for our safety. They're doing it because, quite honestly, humans while we're great, we have thumbs and we can walk on two legs, we're also some of the dumbest animals alive right now. I said I wasn't going to talk about this stuff, and I'm not. So I'm not ranting about that, but it's just amazing to watch our dumb habits. So Apple shut down so that we stopped going into their stores, and now we're not doing that, but all of our crap is trapped there, and we'll see what happens, I guess. One interesting thing that came out of this, and sorry, I was on a conference call last night for a number of hours, so my voice is a little toast today. But a couple of other interesting little nuggets on the Apple realm in relation to the stores being closed. Number one, I actually need to find the right dates from this. They had a thing on their website. Yeah, so if you bought something in their stores from February 20th to March 14th, it looks like was the dates. the exact verbiage. Sorry, I'm like mirror moding here. Anything you bought between February 20th and March 14th may be returned in an Apple store 14 days after the stores reopen, which I think is absolutely, that's great. I mean, I think that's helpful. It's very useful and helpful, obviously, of Apple to do that. But at the same time, I guess that's kind of a nice little thing to do. The other part, and then they also say, or by shipping it back to us, select your method. Here you go. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, whatever. The one thing that I thought Apple was a little tone deaf on, and maybe I just haven't gotten the right communication on this. I did have an active trade-in with Apple when all this stuff went down. I literally was in their store and I bought a device just before that shutdown, and it's interesting because so there's a trade-in and all this other stuff going on. I like to give my stuff back to Apple. I'm weird like that. Buy the thing outright, send the old thing back to them, get the gift card, and then whatever. So their trade-in program hasn't done anything different, which I guess is okay because the carriers are open. You know, I mean, FedEx and UPS are still doing their thing, but it's just really bizarre. It's curious to me that they didn't send me a note and say, hey, guess what? We realize you might not be able to get your stuff back to us in 14 days. Just take a minute and we'll be good. And the reason why I find that so amusing is because I think I'm not going to talk about the Samsung stuff too much, but Samsung, I also had a trade-in program going on with them because that's what happens when you do this sort of stuff and you get addicted to these random pieces of electronic frivolity. But Samsung sent me a mail, like, I think I'm not going to go dig it up and find it, but they sent me a mail right after all this stuff started. I think right around March 14th or 15th. And they said, hey, you've got this thing you're sending back to us for credit, and we already sold you the new thing, and we've got all this crap sorted out. But here's what's up. You can take until April 29th to send that thing back to us, which I was blown away by because I didn't ask them. I didn't, whatever. I didn't think of Samsung as being one of those personal brands, but I'm pretty impressed by that. And they beat Apple on it. Apple, meanwhile, sent me an email this morning. I guess I should say they did send me an email. They sent me an email and said, we can tell that you've decided not to send in your device. So since you've canceled that trade-in, please understand, blah, blah. And it's just like, okay, cool. In case I didn't already say it, a little bit of tone deafness going on there. So, yeah. So I think the other thing to mention too is Apple stores right now. So if you want to buy stuff, if you want to buy anything at Apple, if you're trying to procure items from them, they are open for business. You can totally buy stuff. You can buy it online. Apple has a great supply chain. They have a great website. They have a great app for mobile. And if you've already got an iPad or you've got an iPhone, you can download the Apple Store app. A little great shopping experience there. Unless you're somebody that has a discount, then you got to go to their website. But anything you buy on their website, whatever the date is for delivery, they're going to beat it. I have never had Apple. Well, I've had Apple screw up a couple times, but I tend to, let's not get into my habits here. I tend to buy a little too much stuff from Apple, and then I go, oh, I don't really want this thing, and then I send it back, and then I end up buying it again, and whatever. If anyone's from Apple is watching me right now, don't. But they have a great shipping experience. And if you go onto their website, go into their app, buy stuff, it'll be here in a couple days. And if you have any issues, it ships in great little reusable packaging. You can ship it back if you don't like it. Which brings me to my next little topic, I guess, for an unplanned thing. I am what am I at 15 minutes here? This is good. The next topic I have, which you probably have heard me talk about a little bit, is the new iPads, the 2020 iPads. It's an interesting device that Apple has released because it looks a lot like the 2018 iPads right now. And I've been talking about this with Michael Pepper. So if you haven't showed up or seen his, we do a Friday Night Live thing. Actually, it's something that Mike Tech 702 started on Twitter, and myself, Michael Pepper, and Mike have been doing that, where I've been kind of ranting about this. So you can go check out those for the longer version, but the shorter version is they created a new iPad. It's a lot like the old iPad, and the question naturally when anything like this happens is my friends text me and go, hey, did you see that new iPad? Should I get it? Tell me. I need to know because I need to give Apple money. Maybe I might need to give Apple money, but I'm not sure if I need to give them money until you tell me. which, by the way, I'm sure some of those folks are probably going to watch this stream. And I'm just going to tell you, when you text me back 3 days later, a link to a review from a website, and then you say, this website says this, do you still feel the way that you do? Dude, I've already read that site. I've already visited it. I've probably already comprehended. I probably have the thing. I mean, in this case, let's be real. I do have the thing because I talked about Apple shipping and all that stuff. Yeah. So I did get the 2020 iPad. I am here to give you advice on it real quick. So for my friends that are watching or anyone that got notifications and showed up, also thanks for responding to notifications. That's super cool if you did that. The 2020 iPad is not a bust. I'd say it's really a great thing if you're into developing. If you want to develop for AR and you want to use that ultra wide camera, please don't do it in front of me ever. Please never, ever use an iPad camera in front of me. I think those people are exclusively reserved for my Disney trips or any time that I'm going to take a vacation where I leave my work phone in a desk drawer. That is when that's the only time people are allowed to take iPad pictures. So anyways, the new one has it has a little AR sensor on the back, or sorry, not an AR sensor. It has a LiDAR sensor. So for those who don't know what LiDAR is, essentially it is a 3D mapping technology. It is a little scatter array with some reflectors, and I'm not going to get into the science of it. That is so boring. But it helps you navigate in augmented reality, basically. That ultra-wide camera, and the other thing, I guess, do I need LiDAR? Do I care about AR? You might care about AR once the people that buy this are done developing the apps that are going to work for it. The Apple app works for it. The Apple Store app on the iPad works with it. The IKEA app works with it. There's a few apps that work well with it now, but if you have an iPhone 11 Pro, they already work with that stuff. The LiDAR makes it much more accurate, and it really blends the experience into the iOS on the iPad way better. It's amazing. I'm not going to lie, it is awesome, but it is not worth buying that new device for it. And that ultra wide camera, again, I was thinking about this. It's like I scan documents with my iPad. That's probably what I use the camera most for, because I'm not going to go there and film like the concert like this, the whole time. And Disney roller coaster. I keep bringing up Disney now. I swear this isn't sponsored, but riding roller coasters with my iPad up here and then taking selfies like this. That stuff's all ridiculous. Why are you doing that? Do the world a favor and just the iPad taking pictures isn't a flex. Like, we don't care. So just bring your damn phone and use that. Okay. If you need to buy the bigger phone, flex with that. Get a gold one, go get it gold plated, whatever. But don't do this crap where you are holding this wacky tablet. So I'm kind of irritated that Apple made this ultra wide lens on this tablet, because it's going to make more people use it for pictures. But anyways, yeah. So there's a new camera. There's the new AR sensor, LiDAR sensor. And then there is the A12Z processor, which is, yes, it's not new. It's the old one. It's basically got an extra core enabled on it. It's not that exciting. Sorry, one sec. And it's nothing that I would write home about. So to my friends that are going to text me and get this link as a result to your answer, go to the Apple Refurb store. Go to the Apple Store, search for refurbished, and then find the iPad that you want. Odds are pretty good they're not going to have a lot of Wi-Fi and cellular ones, so sorry. You'll get to learn how hotspot technology works on your iPhone, most likely, if you need it remotely, but most of the time it works pretty darn well, so you don't. But go search the Refurb 2018 iPad Pros. I think that, and I said this on Michael Pepper's stream the other night, Apple has done nothing better to market their refurbished store and their 2018 iPad Pros than launch the 2020 iPad Pro, technically. So, and the other thing too is, I know that there's definitely some people out there that are confused by this, and they're probably wondering, well, why would Apple do this? I mean, it's been a couple of years. And they just released this slightly faster thing. It's not really that much faster. It's not. What's the deal, man? The answer is that I would suspect in the fall time you're going to see, or late fall time, you're going to see the new iPhone 12, whatever it's going to be called, coming out. That will have LiDAR in it. Hopefully all the developers that needed to develop this AR stuff will all get their ducks in a row before, obviously, this new device comes out. And then that will have a more meaningful experience to it. But I do think After that period of time, you will see another iPad come out. It'll have 5G. You'll see the new processor, the new CPU. I don't know if they're going to change the shell or do a redesign. I don't think that they would, because, and this is the last thing I'm going to ramble about here for a second, is Apple did have one major update that cost absolutely nothing with their modern iPads. So this goes back to the 2018, and this actually goes back to, like, I think the Air 2 right now, if I'm not mistaken. And that is that you can now have keyboard and mouse support in an iPad. Yes. So Bluetooth keyboard, mouse, USB keyboard and mouse, it all works. So Apple has also released an ungodly expensive keyboard case for their iPad Pros, for their new iPad Pros. But I'm pausing because this is a major surprise and I'm trying not to just yell about it. They made it backwards compatible. So if you own that 2018 iPad Pro, or you're soon to own it because you bought a 2020, you're watching this video, you feel so compelled to immediately go return your device and go buy one of those 2018 refurb models, you own one of those, it works with the new keyboard. So just to be clear, there are the cover, I call them the taco cases, hang on. This is the Apple taco case, all right? It's the keyboard, right? You get, God, I can't even open this thing now. It opens like this, it does this, right? But see the end of it there? Whee! See that? It's like a little taco. It just nestles it inside. Doesn't taste as good, trust me. But Apple does make the taco cases. So they have the regular taco case and then the taco case, the extra crunchy one with all the keys on it. But they now have a third one that is not necessarily being called a case. They're calling it the Magic Keyboard. But it does look like it still works as a case. That results in your iPad floating. It adds an extra USB-C port of unknown identity at this time, but we believe that it is a fully functioning USB-C port. We need to get the first one in hand to tell. It's ungodly expensive, starting at $300 if you do not have a discount, and it's $350 for the 12.9. But again, surprise, Apple made it backwards compatible with the 2018 iPad Pros. So now you can go save some money and buy the old iPad Pro, and then you can buy the ungodly expensive $300 keyboard that they're just going to mark up next year. The other thing too, just on a quick note, that iPad that I think is coming on later this year, I'm going to call it price terracing. I don't know if that's the right term to use, but I feel like Apple released these 2020 iPads right now. They've got the pricing to them is very similar to their last gen. And now they have the ability to step up when they drop this new one in the fall time that will have a few more features on it. So that is my 2 cents on that stuff. I think that's really all I had for today. I mean, I appreciate you all coming out. Actually, you know what? I actually did have somebody else on here. My friend Michael was joining, and I'm going to bring him on for a second to say hello before we wrap this thing up. And hang on one second. Michael.
Awesome job. That's all I got to say. 2 words right there. Incredible. Awesome for your kind of first live stream. Everything you said was on point. You brought up a good couple things in there, and it's very thorough. You didn't have any blank space. I was going to make a joke and say you're so thirsty, and you talked about how you weren't going to go into much detail with this, that people could go watch our Friday night. So does that mean that this is Friday night watered down edition?
This is, well, see, I think I'm going to do this Sunday thing.
Watered down.
Oh God. Sorry. I was totally missing it. Yeah. The first 3 minutes I was staring at all these streaming stats on the YouTube page thinking, it's great that they give me this, but do I need to care? And then I realized I talked a lot last night. I talked Friday, and then last night I talked for even longer, and it was a lot louder. And then today I was doing Viper impersonations before I got on the air to make sure that, I was good to go. So this actually, it's a good question you bring up, because my plan is, even though we do our Friday night thing, which eventually we're going to lure Mike to come back onto that and join us. I think you and I are still hanging though, and we're definitely keeping a seat warm. But my aim is that we will keep we'll have more broad content there, because I know we talk more about like Android and iOS and the Friday night stuff. My Sunday, I might do a Sunday thing every Sunday. I really want to call it Sunday worship, but that seemed a little strange. But yeah, this is kind of the watered down edition. I wanted to make sure that if people missed it, they still had a link to go to when I wanted to tell them what they should be doing with the new iPads. Because I know that it came out last week and everyone knows about it, but now this week will be the week that everyone's like, hey, did you hear that? And I'd love to say, no, I had no idea at all. And now they're going to get this link to this video and go, oh, dude, what's up? But thank you for the compliments, by the way. I'm glad to know that it looks like I actually prepared for this thing. Other than making sure my green screen was working, and all the tech was up. I'm just excited that YouTube finally enabled me for live. So
yeah.
But and speaking of which, I know I'm not on here to like plug. And sorry for everybody that thinks I'm doing advertising, but Michael is for those who know me, it's funny. I'm good at editing, and I can do some really crazy stuff, and I never share it with anyone. I take a million pictures, a million videos, and I never share it. I'm that guy that never edits and uploads the YouTube videos. If you've gone and seen my channel, you know that I prefer the kind of one take driving thing, which is always on a blue screen and always safe, by the way. I'm never really driving when I do that. But Michael is the guy that is like the opposite of me. He gets a concept into his head, develops it, shoots it, edits it, and it's like 4 hours later, the thing's out there. So Michael has actually done a video on the new iPad OS, how that, and I kept calling it iOS earlier, but he has done a video on the iPad OS using the mouse and Bluetooth keyboard with it and showing how that all works. And you also had a video that dropped this morning I thought was pretty interesting, which was the Palm phone, which it has been years since I actually saw one of those. And looking at the video is a little bit wacky. I mean, the video from the phone, your source video, but that thing is a crazy device. It looks, when I first saw that in one of your streams, I was like, is that the iPhone X? Because I knew you had it, but then that's an amazing little device. And that video was neat.
What it makes me want, though, and I'll take it out of the case real quick. I know you just brought me on real quick before you end this, but what it makes me want is a black and gold iPhone. Like, isn't that beautiful?
That's pretty sharp.
Like, it doesn't feel cheap, and it's got heft to it for its size. Like, if you were to take this and make it the size of a full iPhone, it would be pretty hefty. Like, it's got some decent weight for the fact that it's as small as it is. I mean, it's only an 800 milliamp hour battery, but still, like,
wow.
When you're thinking small, it doesn't feel like I'm holding like a package of like matches from a hotel or something. It's extremely small and light. It's got some heft to it. But yeah, it's been interesting to use. I've been trying to figure out like, okay, what's the purpose of this? And so that's going to be kind of my next, like, okay, I've done the photography stuff. I've showed the videography. I've shown that aspect of it. What's like, why would you get this sort of thing? And so that will be kind of my next direction.
Does it, and what does it have for wireless technology on it? I mean, I know because it's a few years old. I mean, Palm's been down for like 2013 or something, I think.
I'm not sure which version of Wi-Fi it's running, only because our Wi-Fi here is done in such a way where both bands are out for the same, and the device automatically and even the router will intelligently like assign. So if it picks up, oh, you're, you don't need as fast as streaming, and we'll assign you 5G because you're close enough. And if you're farther away, it will kind of pick up so I'm not really sure what bands it has. I'm using the US Mobile that had a free month that came with it.
Oh, cool.
And I was out and about the other day and did a speed test, and it was pretty decent. Let's see here. And it has face unlock, which is funny.
That's pretty awesome.
The old, awesome. The old style. But yeah, I was out and about, and like one of my speed tests was 76.8 down and 35.6 up, which for this tiny thing using whatever the older style LTE that it was, and that was not even full bars, that was half bars. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's actually really cool.
Prepaid Verizon network is what that uses. So, but yeah, I had a lot of fun, and thanks for the compliment on that. Like, you're like, I have the ideas, but this guy actually does. And it's like,
yeah, that's, I mean, anyone that knows me, it's comical. I will come out with like a diatribe on stuff and it's like, oh my gosh, and I actually have to, I'm not going to shout them out by name, but there is a small group of my friends who once were like, hey, I will just call it the Apple Talk people. They'll know who they are. That I was ranting about stuff, and they're like, "You should go create a YouTube channel," which I did. But yeah, I one of these days I'm going to sit down and actually edit something together and put up some regular content. But yeah, it's great. Well, it's funny chatting with you and watching you. You're like, I've got this idea, and then I'm like, hey, look, if I don't read my phone for like 4 hours, you know, sometimes I'm at work or whatever on calls, and I'll get back. Like, you're like, check out this upload. So kudos to you for executing on it. I know that I'm the other end of the other end of this thing, but I think I'm going to try to do some more little short lives like that. Ooh, which, speaking of which, I'm at time, so I'm gonna wrap this one up. And yes, thank you, Tech for Your Needs. If you liked what you saw here, please don't forget to hit that like button. It does help. Even though YouTube is currently suppressing lives right now, they are downplaying them. They're downgrading video quality. And it looks like they're not popping up notifications for folks on all lives right now because of the crazy amount of internet bandwidth being used. But yeah, I would appreciate that as well. So, Michael, thanks for popping on. Thanks for saying hello. And if you guys don't know, that is Michael Pepper over there. I will throw a link down here to his channel so you can go check out what he does. He has some pretty interesting perspectives on things, which is why I always like chatting with him. But Michael, thanks to you. Everyone in the chat, thank you for coming out and joining us on this Sunday morning or afternoon, wherever you might be. Until next time, stay well, be well, all that good stuff. And Michael, you have any closing words?
thank you for everybody who hopped on here to support Chris as he's kind of starting in this direction in his first live stream. And hopefully more people will be to follow because you deserve it.
Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate it. As do we all. All right, I'm going to wrap live stream 1. Thanks again, folks. Take care.